afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, The Donor Voyage After the Click-Through Report. I would now like to introduce Capture's Director of Philanthropic Initiatives, Kevin Bauman.
Thank you, Alicia, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Donor Voyage After the Click-Through Report. As Alicia mentioned, my name is Kevin Bauman, and I have the privilege of being the Director of Philanthropic Initiatives here at Capture Higher Ed, and your host for the next half hour as we talk about what happens after an alum clicks through an email and ends up on your click-through report. I will make special note that today's webinar will last 1.5 hours. And if you are tuning in to our advancement webinar for the first time, you will find other webinars that are recorded on Capture's website that also last a half hour. Knowing your time is valuable, we're condensing as much information as we can that would generally be posted in an hour-long webinar, bringing that to you in a half hour and giving you the time to ask questions if you have those at the end. So please sit back and enjoy today's presentation. We will be happy to follow up with a recording, as Alicia mentioned. So what are we here to talk about today? Well, does it sound familiar to hear that a highly rated prospect in your territory clicked an email last week, or maybe they clicked through an email that was sent yesterday? Many of you are receiving click-through reports that are related to, maybe it's someone in your territory, maybe it's someone in your portfolio, but they're basically telling you that a highly rated prospect opened an email or clicked through an email that was sent by the institution. And if you're like me, when you receive that information, you ask yourself, this is great, but have you ever asked what happened after someone ended up on your click-through report? That's what we're here to talk about today. Because many of us who are tuning in today are not judged simply by the click-through rate that we can get on an email. We are judged at the end of the day by the number of donors and dollars we can bring into the institution. So if you look at a click-through report and you say, how much information do I really receive when someone clicks through an email? What happens after they click through that email? Or where did they navigate before they click through this email? That's what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the actionable insights that marketing automation can provide that can really bring context to your existing click-through reports. Answering questions like, did the prospect navigate over to the plan giving page and look into different types of plan gifts for a half hour? Or after they read that article, did they go over and look at different campaign initiatives on the institution's website? Maybe they went and read the institution's 2020 plan or researched different scholarship endowments. All of these types of things are voyages that alumni take after clicking through an email and ending up on your email report. Now, today's presentation will leverage a number of resources you can download yourself. And let me acknowledge, yes, they are Capture branded. And this is not a Capture commercial. We encourage you to use these resources as you like, make them your own, add them to your resources in your marketing automation toolkit, and do with them as you will. But today's presentation is truly directed towards an educational outcome for our audience. So let's start with an example. What you see on your screen today is an actual visit that was tracked from an alum over a 30-day period. You'll notice on day 1 was the first visit, and on day 30 was the 6th visit that alum had. Now, this is an actual alum that was tracked on one of our partner institutions' websites. And let me acknowledge that on day 1, that individual alum actually clicked through an email. So this day 1 click, where this individual landed on the plan giving page, would have showed up on your existing click-through report. Now, what you see after that day 1 click, you'll see on day 15, 2 weeks later, that alum went to the alumni page and read about a scholarship. You'll see within the week, that alum had returned 2 additional times to read about that same scholarship. And by the end of the 30-day period that this individual alum was monitored, that alum had returned to the plan giving page multiple times to download resources about leaving the institution in their estate plan, and also to research a very specific type of plan gift called a charitable IRA rollover. I'm sure that's familiar to many of you who are on the call today. And so what we're here to talk about today is the difference between that day 1 click and everything that happened next. Because anyone who has ever gotten that click-through report and asked yourself, okay, and then what happened? Today we're going to be talking about that answer. So let's start with introductions. I'll keep it brief. As Alicia mentioned, my name is Kevin Bauman. I am the Director of Philanthropic Initiatives here at Capture Higher Ed. I've had the good fortune of working in the advancement space for the last 17 years, working with institutions across the country, integrating their annual giving, major and planned giving initiatives. I've had the good fortune of helping bring marketing automation with Capture Higher Ed into the advancement space for roughly the last 2 years. So if anyone would like to know more about me, you'll have my email address. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I'll keep my introductions brief today. Now, we'll quickly move into how do you know we're Alumni Voyage? So if you're receiving that click-through report and you say, Kevin, this is great, but how do I know where alumni are actually going after? That's what we're going to talk about. And the answer to that is really also known as what is marketing automation, which we'll cover briefly. We'll move into how many alumni actually voyage after the click. So Kevin, it's great that you were able to show one alum who had quite a significant voyage after they clicked through an email. But how many alumni are actually navigating the website after they click through our emails? Where do alumni go after they click? And then what can I do with this information? Those 5 topics, well actually 4 topics because we've covered one of those already with the introductions, will be our topics of conversation for the next roughly 20 minutes. So how do you know we're Alumni Voyage? And the answer to that is also, what is marketing automation? So if marketing automation is a new term, or if it's a familiar term, we'll cover it briefly. Marketing automation monitors an institution's website for alumni visits. So in this example, you'll see Faux State College. Anyone who's familiar with Capture Higher Ed knows that this is our fictitious institution that we use for demonstrations just like this. And you'll notice that on the top left is the main page of the institution, and the top right is the athletics domain, and the bottom right is actually the College of Business, and in the bottom left is the alumni relations domain. And so all of these different areas are places where alumni are actually visiting your website today. And marketing automation sits on your website and it monitors your website for alumni visit behaviors. And when it finds those, it aggregates all of those behaviors into one single location, and that is marketing automation. And so if you have any questions, we're going to keep it at a 30,000-foot view. If you have any specific questions about what is marketing automation, we'll be happy to answer those. But if that term is new to you, I can promise you that you encounter marketing automation every single day. So I'll take just 1 minute to encourage you to think about your browsing experience. Maybe it's with an online streaming service, or maybe it's with an online retailer. And let's say that online streaming service says, because you watched this Clint Eastwood movie, we think you would like this other Western. Or let's say that online retailer says, because you bought this coffee pot, we think you would like these coffee mugs. What those 2 services are doing is they are monitoring your behavior on their website and then making custom recommendations based on those behaviors. Now, in our examples today, we're going to talk about the monitoring of alumni behaviors, where true marketing automation and what Capture offers in this space also makes custom recommendations based on these behaviors. But it's truly these insights that are delivered to the individual gift officers on campus that can create new opportunities for our gift officers to reach out and really leverage the entire alumni voyage rather than just simply the click-through report. So how does marketing automation add that visibility to an alum's voyage? Let's walk through a quick example. Now, this example is an actual alum who was tracked on a partner institution's website, much like the previous example, but we're going to break it down quickly to show where marketing automation actually differs compared to the click-through report. So this is in May of last year. This individual alum had monitored the school's tennis team 5 different times. So they came back independently of an email to look at the school's tennis team 5 different times. I think it's safe to say that this individual is engaged with the tennis team. In June and July, the same individual returned to read the president's blog each month. So we know that this individual is engaged with institutional messaging. Now, in August, the same individual read multiple articles in the alumni newsletter. And for anyone who's following along with me right now, you'll notice that reading articles in the alumni newsletter likely would show up on your click-through report. As I click through that newsletter, I'm driven to the alumni domain where that information is shown on your click-through report. So in this example, we are now in the click-through report. But in September, it's important to know that this alum also returned to research different infrastructure projects on campus. Now, that was an initiative that this alum took on their own. They were not prompted by an email, so they would not show up on that click-through report. And in October, the alum returned to register for an alumni event, also on their own, also not showing up on the click-through report. And then you can see where this is going. In November, this alum actually participated in Giving Tuesday. And so in all of these behaviors, that click-through report can certainly tell you that this alum read multiple articles in the alumni newsletter in August. But it is marketing automation that sits over the top of your entire website that is able to show you the voyage that this alum took. Where in May, they're engaged with the tennis team, they're reading the president's blog. Yes, they're reading articles in the alumni newsletter, but they're also researching different infrastructure projects on campus, registering for events, and participating in Giving Tuesday. And it's with that full perspective that a gift officer on campus can now take these insights and decide that this is an alum that we should or should not be reaching out to. Now, in this case, it's important to note that this is a major gift prospect. So this prospect is rated in the classic way with the ability to give $25,000 or more. And so with this information, the gift officer was able to reach out, invite the alum to, let's say it's invite the alum to the next event with the tennis coach or the next update with an infrastructure project on campus. It's this full voyage that the gift officer has on campus that allows the gift officer to create meaningful outreach. Now, the question comes up, well, how many alumni actually continue their voyage after they click through an email and end up on my click-through report? So to answer that question, we're going to share a little bit of capture data here. We're looking back at alumni who Capture has been tracking since 2017. And as it turns out, 73% of alumni visited multiple pages during a single visit. And so with alumni who are coming back and navigating the website, and yes, they are reading the article that they intend to read. If you sent them an article about a great new infrastructure project that you have on campus, alumni are clicking through that and they're reading that article on the infrastructure initiative. But 73% of alumni are taking action after reading that infrastructure article. But where do they go? Well, as a matter of fact, over 90% of all alumni visits are actually not on event registration or news pages. Now, why is that important? So let me highlight those. Now, when you look at the chart in front of you, I'd like you to think about all of the visits that alumni have to an institution's website. Some of them are on the athletics page. You'll notice in the top right-hand corner that 46% of alumni visits are on the athletics page. Some of them are on the main.edu. So if I'm on the main.edu, maybe I'm researching a specific center on campus, or maybe I'm checking in on that favorite professor that I had. So 32% of alumni visits are actually on that main domain. You'll notice 7% are on the alumni page. Day of giving page is 5%. Anyone tuning in from the annual giving office know that 5% of alumni visits are actually on the day of giving, which is a very significant amount if you think about that. That happens in a 24-hour period, or increasingly in a 48-hour period. Now, alumni newsletters, which you see highlighted, and then below that on the news page, you'll notice that those two combined account for less than 5% of all alumni visits to an institution's website. And why is that important? Well, when you're talking about click-through rates and you're talking about alumni news communications, most of the time when we're sending out monthly newsletters or quarterly newsletters, we are driving alumni to read stories that are housed on the alumni newsletter website or on the news page itself. And so by tracking behavior on those sites, we're able to better understand how much time alumni are actually spending in the location where we're directing them. Now, in this case, you'll notice it's actually less than 5%. I think we said that a number of times. But it's interesting to note that when you look at the original reason that alumni visit the website, a full 30% of alumni have their first visit to the website because of the alumni newsletter or because of the news page. 30%. So 1 out of 3 alumni are driven back to the website for the first time from the alumni newsletter or to the news page. But those same 2 websites only account for less than 5% of all alumni behaviors. And that's because our communications are doing a wonderful job of driving alumni back to the website. So credit to everyone who's tuning in today, who's creating newsletters, who's creating those marketing pieces that live on the news page. You're doing a wonderful job of creating engaging content that are driving alumni back to the website. And the great news is when they arrive back on that website, they're spending more and more time navigating the institution's website, looking at things like the athletics page. Did the tennis team win last week? Looking at things like the main.edu. What is my favorite professor up to? So that alumni newsletter landing page and those news pages are really, really important, even though they don't account for the vast majority of alumni traffic. They do account for a large majority of why alumni are originally returning to the institution's website. Let's break down this information even more. So for major gift officers who are tuning in today, let's talk about major gift prospects who visit the website. And if you remember that 73% of alumni overall navigate multiple pages on the institution's website, a full 80% of major gift prospects have multiple page visits during a single visit. 80%. And for plan giving officers who are tuning in today, let's talk about prospects who have an estate gift on file with the institution. A full 90% of those prospects have multiple page views during a single visit. And so if you think about it, that makes sense. Our major gift prospects who are considering major gifts to an institution have more to gain and or lose by investing in an institution. If I invest $50,000 in an institution, I'm going to do my homework. I'm not only reading the alumni newsletter article that you sent me, but I'm going to go and look into the Entrepreneurship Center and see the outcomes that are coming out of that Entrepreneurship Center. And that Entrepreneurship Center likely lives on my main.edu. And so I'm going to navigate over to the main.edu where I can research that center and research those outcomes, research those needs, and better understand the impact that my major gift can have with the institution today. And then in the same vein, with an estate gift, these are individuals who are considering documenting an estate gift. In this case, these are individuals who have documented an estate gift. If they're passionate enough to document the institution in their estate plans, then it makes perfect sense that these alumni are navigating over to different places on the website. Maybe it is the athletics domain, maybe it's the alumni domain, maybe it's the main domain, lots of different options. These folks are navigating all over the website to better understand how the institution is using their existing resources to make sure that their estate gift will be handled in a way that they're comfortable with. So for anyone tuning in today who is getting a click-through report and it related to major gift prospects, or getting a click-through report related to plan giving prospects, know that that is a great start, but 80% of the prospects that we're talking about in the major gift space have actually navigated elsewhere on the website after visiting and clicking through that email. And for anyone in the plan giving space, 90% of prospects who are on your plan giving, or excuse me, who are on your click-through report, who have documented an estate gift with the institution, have actually navigated elsewhere on the institution's website after clicking through that email. So the question becomes, where do they go? Now, previously we covered alumni visits in aggregate, and we noted that 80% of alumni visits actually do not happen on the advancement domain. The vast majority of alumni visits happen where alumni have their individual areas of affinity with the institution. So it may be that I'm very passionate about the tennis team, as in the previous example, where it may be that Alicia, who you heard from earlier, is very passionate about the football team, where another individual is passionate about the Entrepreneurship Center. And so we've covered domains from the athletics domain to the central.edu site, and the examples that you can download yourself provide even more actual examples of where alumni visit after clicking through. So I promised that we would provide some resources that you can actually leverage yourself. And so I'm going to click a link to Capture's advancement personas, which you can find on our website, and I'm going to download those personas today. And Alicia is looking at me saying that we will gladly provide you a link to those. So we'll be happy to follow up with that. And I'm going to actually download the personas of 4 different individuals that were actually tracked on an institution's website. And we can go through individually their individual voyages. Now, Kathy is an actual alum, and I will just quickly glance over some of her demographic information that an institution generally knows. We know that last year she gave $75 to the annual fund. Her lifetime giving is about $5,000, and she has never been assigned. But if we start to look into her voyage, which we can zoom into here, let's see if I can zoom in. Computer's not being my friend today. There we go. So we can zoom in a little bit. We know that because of marketing automation, over the last 12 months, Kathy's voyage has been very robust. In January, Kathy viewed the honor roll of donors twice. And for anyone tuning in today, I'll note that the honor roll of donors is something that alumni take very seriously, especially your donors who are making significant contributions. And so you'll notice that there's actually a lot of traffic on your honor roll of donors page, and Kathy visited that page twice in January. In May, she returned to monitor the school's tennis team. That might sound familiar. She then went on to read the president's blog, the alumni newsletter, infrastructure projects, alumni event, and participated in Giving Tuesday. If that sounds familiar, you'll note that Kathy is one of our examples that we used earlier. But it's a great example of the robust voyage that alumni will take. Now, I mentioned previously, though, that Kathy was a major gift prospect, and just so we can show you that that's all accurate, you'll notice that she graduated in 1975, and her capacity by the institution is estimated to be about $25,000. So as a major gift prospect who has never been assigned, we can now know that Kathy's voyage is very robust, and that's a wonderful prospect for us to reach out to, rather than simply knowing that in August she showed up on a click-through report. Let's look at a few more voyages. Robert is an alum who is assigned. So I'll ask everyone to see in the middle left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see that Robert is assigned. He has given about $20,000 to the institution, and he has not heard from his gift officer in the last 12 months. So let's look at Robert's voyage, because again, everyone's voyage is unique. In the last year, Robert read an article on the football team captains. Robert researched the senior art project showcase. He read the president's blog, and he registered for homecoming. Now, in fairness, reading an article on the football team's captain was likely a click-through on an article in the alumni newsletter. And so in that example, the gift officer would know that Robert clicked through an email. But by using marketing automation, this gift officer can better understand that not only did he look at the article on the football team captains, but he researched the senior art project showcase, researched the president's blog, and then registered for homecoming. That's Robert's voyage. And it's that voyage that happens after the click-through report that provides the meaningful information that gift officers need to reach out. So I'll share one more with you, and then I'll leave one for you to go find on your own. Frank and Felicia over the last 6 months have visited their institution's website 10 different times. They looked into news about a retiring classmate. They returned a month later to review news about another retiring classmate. They researched multiple ways to give, including gifts of stocks and mutual funds. And then they went on to make an annual gift. So you'll notice that Frank and Felicia and Robert and Kathy all had individual voyages, that there are certain snapshots of their voyage, think of it as a moment in time, that are captured by click-through reports. And it's kind of like using a Polaroid camera to document a wedding. Yes, you will have a snapshot of a moment in time to better understand what happened at that event. But if you hire a videographer to film the entire event, you will have a much better understanding of everything that happened at that wedding, and likely a much happier bride as someone who recently got married. So a great example of actual donor voyages that are coming from institutions that we're tracking today. And I encourage you to go out and download those yourself. Alicia committed that we will follow up with that link. So another example, here's Frank and Felicia. You remember meeting them just moments ago. But one thing I'd like to highlight is oftentimes we do know some of our prospects that we see on click-through reports, and quite frankly, some prospects that we identify through marketing automation. But what I hope you can take from today is even if you know somebody, even if you have a prospect that you've worked with for quite some time, that click-through report and the marketing automation information that follows that click-through report can oftentimes give you a new way of viewing an existing prospect. So Frank and Felicia, who were the last people that we talked about, you'll notice towards the bottom where they made their annual gift, just before that, they researched, well, that's what I get for clicking through. They researched multiple ways to give, including stocks and mutual funds. So in this case, Frank and Felicia may or may not have been known by the institution, but that individual gift officer who was managing that record, by seeing that key point on that individual's voyage, now can see that alum in a different way and start a conversation about different resources the institution has to help that donor make a gift of stock or mutual funds that, quite frankly, may be a more tax advantageous way for this individual to give. So we're coming up on the half hour, so let's talk about what can you do with this information. If you already have marketing automation, please, please, please do not settle for a click-through report. If a click-through report is a starting point for you, great. But you cannot settle for that click-through report because you must be building profiles, not clicks. We talked about the Polaroid camera example, and that click-through report is giving you a snapshot of a moment in time. But true prospect research is done by building profiles. And by building those profiles of alumni behaviors over time, that's where you can start to leverage the true power of the marketing automation that you have on campus. To better understand that Frank and Felicia have visited the website 10 different times and are looking into gifts of stocks and mutual funds. And then third, I'd encourage you to consider which marketing automation data to import back into your existing database on campus. For many gift officers, they're very comfortable in the existing CRM on campus. And oftentimes it's easier for those gift officers to find this information within their existing CRM where they're most comfortable operating. For some gift officers, they're comfortable going into whichever interface in your marketing automation you choose to leverage. But for others, consider the right amount of marketing automation data to import back into your existing database. If you do not have marketing automation on campus today, knowing is half the battle. You do not need to settle for a click-through report. If you are settling for a click-through report and you are asking yourself what happens before and after someone clicks through that email, there is an answer, and you no longer need to settle for that click-through report. Because again, at the end of the day, we are responsible to the number of donors and dollars that we're able to bring into an institution, not for the number of clicks we can get on an email. And so consider if marketing automation is right for your team. Through today's presentation, I hope you've seen how marketing automation can help give you the full donor voyage of what happens after the click-through report, and how that donor voyage can be leveraged for powerful insights that can then be turned into wonderful outreach opportunities for alumni who haven't been on your radar previously, or for alumni who may currently be on your radar, but you're looking for a way to further that relationship sooner, or better identify individual areas of affinity for those alumni. And if marketing automation is the right answer for you, I'd encourage you to leverage Capture's resources. You'll find a number of different resources on our website and on our blog. And I'd encourage you to leverage industry resources, because marketing automation is being leveraged by institutions across the country. So thank you for tuning in today. I'd encourage you to follow up with Alicia or myself if you have any questions. It looks like I've gone a little bit over, so we are going to forego the Q&A portion of today. But Alicia and I will commit to following up with everyone on the call today to make sure that if you have any questions directly, I'll be happy to answer those. And Alicia, I will turn it over to you to wrap us up for today.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you for everyone attending today's webinar, the Donor Voyage After the Click-Through Report. You will receive a follow-up email within 48 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar and all the resources that Kevin has included during today's presentation. You will also have a link to contact us if you have any questions that we can go ahead and answer. And on behalf of Capture Higher Ed, thank you for joining us today, and have a great day.